everybody, Lucky Grim here with the very first episode of Behind the Scenes with Nerd Caliber. We're coming to you from the amazing Double Midnight Comics here in Manchester, New Hampshire. Go ahead and give them a like on Facebook of all their amazing things all year round. Now today on the first episode, we're going to talk about cosplay judging and competing with a panel of esteemed cosplay judges from around the New England area. And I'm joined today by Abby from Sushi Cosplay, Kevin from Glitch Cos, and Emily from Mhysa Cosplay. Now we're going to go ahead and jump right in with our first question. All of our questions were provided by fans on the internet. And the first one is, why do you judge? Why do you judge competitions?
I judge because I really enjoy being able to get up close and see people's costumes and talk with them about how they made their costumes. I've also had some not so great judging experiences in the past, so I like to be able to provide a positive experience to cosplayers, particularly novice cosplayers, just so that they don't get discouraged.
Kevin?
Yeah, I'm basically the same. I just really love the craft, and I love seeing everyone's, different costumes, different techniques, different ways of going about things. So I just love the whole, and the community is a really nice community. It's very positive. It's one of my favorites.
I get to voice my opinions on people's costumes without them getting mad at me. No, but seriously, I really love getting in close and looking at the details and seeing how people execute things. Even as a judge, sometimes I'll see someone come into judging and I'm so impressed by how they did something that I'll incorporate that into a future design, because you're always learning, and it's great to be able to learn from the people that you're judging, and also sometimes help them to learn what things could be different, what could be changed.
All right. First craftsmanship question. What do you look for in craftsmanship when you award them points?
I think I look for detail and finishing. So I will give more points to something that it fits really well. All of the seams and the hems and everything are finished. It's pressed. And then like detail work. So, your wig is styled a specific way. You painted things, you embroidered things, you beaded things. I also think ingenuity is a big area to get some points
Ergonomics too is huge for me. Being able to get in and out of your costume quickly and easily, and making it comfortable. Making a lot of armor, it's difficult to make it comfortable, but when you can see people put forethought into it and just didn't start just grabbing things and going. They actually had a plan and they laid it out. That's what I usually look for craftsmanship, and just like different ways about doing it. If they finished their seams, if they did painted the inside, somewhere people don't usually see, but it is a finished product. It's the top points I get, if I look at it and I think, wow, this looks like it came from a manufacturer, then that's like really like puts them above everyone else.
For me, it's all about attention to detail and demonstrating a range of techniques. I'm going to be much more impressed with someone who comes into judging and they've got a floor-length skirt and they're like, oh, and then I also made these tights and boots that are underneath that you can't even see, because it shows that level of detail where they really wanted the costume to be a complete picture, and they weren't just worried about what's going to be visible, what are you going to see. They really wanted a complete outfit. And I also appreciate when someone demonstrates a range of techniques, because it's great if someone comes in and they're like, oh, I sewed my whole costume. That's awesome, but what else can they do? Do they have fabrication skills? Can they work with foam? Do they do latex prosthetics? There's so many different techniques that if someone can show that they've mastered multiple techniques, it's much more impressive than if someone's really good at one.
I'm going to second basically all this. I love looking at when they have the fundamentals down. Like the fundamentals, all the stitching is the same. It's forethoughts in everything they do. And I always go directly to the fundamentals first and then go to the big things. So we're all on the same page. Okay, what should a cosplayer do when they first walk into the judging room?
Give the judges your reference images, because we don't always know what you are from. And if I don't know what you're from, I can't judge your costume all that well. I mean, I can notice like, oh, your stitching is really nice, but I don't know if this is actually what the character's supposed to look like. And then just kind of start from the top to the bottom, or the bottom to the top.
Progress pictures too. If you bring in a photo album of how you made it, it's so much quicker and easier to explain how you did it, because you only have about 5 minutes.
If that.
That's if you're at, have a lot of time. most of the times you have 2 minutes to get your point across, and the judges are also looking at you and trying to listening to you. So they can't hear everything you're saying, but if you show them a picture of this is how I primed my helmet, and then you show them the helmet, they see the final product, within a span of 2 seconds, you basically explained everything. I'm a big fan of like bringing an actual photo album, not on your phone or a tablet, because that way, they're like, oh, you're always scrolling through. If you give them a photo album, you can give that to them, and they can easily flip through it, look at things and ask you questions about that. And like I said, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and you only have 3 minutes. You have 5 pictures, that's 5,000 words.
I definitely second what Abby said about
Science.
reference pictures, because a lot of times characters will come into judging that we might not be familiar with, or it's an artist's interpretation of a character that isn't the canonical version. And if you don't have something to show us, this is the baseline that I started from, one of the huge things that we judge on is how well you look like the core art. And if we don't know what the original character looks like, we can't determine how close you resemble that. And that's going to be huge points off. So right then and there, yeah, definitely make sure that you have something to show for this is what I was making. And yeah, progress pictures are fantastic because we want to know how you did everything. And if you can give us a visual representation rather than just talking about it, that's massive.
Yeah, and I think if you've got a really limited amount of time in judging, like if you've got 2 minutes, think ahead of time, like what are the most impressive things about your costume, and be prepared to tell the judges about that.
You have to walk in and press us right away, and then go into detail.
I like to tell people, look at it like a job interview. Like, rehearse what you're going to say so you don't get in there and get flustered. Trust us, we're all nerds in costume. We know how it is. We were all baby cosplayers before. And I come from an anime convention world of competing, where you walk in with a portfolio. Once you get to master's class, we assume you're going to have a portfolio where it has like, I messed up the first 8 times on this costume, and this is how I messed up and how I learned. And this is what I look like outside of costume. This is what the costume looks like when it's finally finished and photoed and done very well. I've had the amazing opportunity to judge World Cosplay Summit Finals at Anime Central a couple years ago. And there it's required to have a portfolio. It's part of your judging to be able to have that presentation, that level of professionalism that most of us carry on into our own jobs.
Yeah, and planning ahead what you're going to say is definitely huge, because otherwise, I mean, you get in there, the adrenaline's going, you're flustered, you're going to forget things. For me, it's always, I make all my own patterns. I never think to mention it when I'm in judging, because it's just something that I do, and that's detrimental for me, because most people don't do that. So you always want to pay attention, like ahead of time, plan out, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this. Make yourself a list if you have to, but just make sure you're prepared and you know exactly what bullet points you want to tick.
And I think judging also depends on the division that you're in. I mean, if you're in the master's division, the judges are going to be pretty quiet, and they're going to expect you to be able to say what you did, how you did it, all of that. If you're novice, I mean, I try to be very, very gentle and kind of prompt people like, okay, so how did you make this? Tell us about this. What are you most proud of? So depending on your division, you might get some prompts from the judges about what to talk about next.
All right, moving on. Are bigger costumes better?
No.
Nope.
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 No. I think bigger costumes overall look more impressive because they take up more space. But a bigger costume isn't better unless it's better made.
Yeah.
End of story.
Bigger costumes also run into detriment, because when you're making a big costume, a lot of times you're going to run into the pitfall of, oh, well, people need to stand 10, 15 feet back in order to see me. So, if this is a little bit messed up, no one's going to see it. Well, in judging, we're going to see it.
Yeah.
In judging, we are examining it with a microscope. So if you have visible glue, if you taped your costume together, we're going to see it, and we're going to take points off.
Yeah, if you don't have finished edges, or a lot of the big costumes, when I judge, I get up and I literally go right into the costume, and I don't sit behind the table. I'm in your face, and I'm asking you every quick question of, why is this seam line here? Or, is this your parting line, or is this, or, what paint did you use? I get really into it, and a lot of times, like they said, when it's bigger, the quality is usually sacrificed to get the size.
And I think ingenuity and ergonomics play a big piece too with big costumes, because I've seen a lot of people who've had big costumes that they were really proud of and they thought were really impressive, but they were really uncomfortable in them, and they could wear them for an hour max, and that from my perspective, is going to lose points in
Yeah.
terms of judging.
Yep. Not to mention, we've seen some costumes where the person can't even move. Like
Yeah.
they need a handler just to get them from point A to point B. And we look at that and we're like, that's not a costume. That's a prop.
Yeah.
If you can't actually move in your costume, if you have to put it on and stand in one place, you're a part of the scenery.
I like to say, if you cannot yourself walk in your costume into judging, I'm not going to judge it.
Yeah.
That's putting me at a disadvantage. I don't have time. There's 80 other people behind you and you're holding them up. Like you get 5 minutes with us and then you got to get out. We got to see 100 other people. And those 100 other people deserve the exact same time and effort that we're going to give you.
I mean, like, if you need someone to, like, hold your wallet and keys, yeah, that's, by all means, everyone needs, like, a handler. But if you need someone to literally walk you through, if you can't even balance, if you can't even walk from point A to point B, and...
If you can't see, if you can't
see.
talk, like, those are issues.
Okay. A big issue right now in the cosplay industry is called sandbagging. Sandbagging is when you take a large costume or any type of costume that's won multiple awards and take it to multiple different conventions to win. What are your thoughts on the sandbagging phenomenon?
Don't do it. I mean, as soon as I, compete in a costume and it wins an award, that's it. I can't compete in it anymore. I know some people will say, if it's won best in show, I can't compete anymore with it. But I hold myself to the standard that if I've won an award, if I've won, best masters, best overall craftsmanship, best in show, I'm not going to compete with it again. I think honorable mention is a little bit different. Because I think there's still wiggle room for improving your costume. But if you've won best in your division or best overall, that's basically the judges saying your costume is great as it is, and there's not really a lot of room for improvement.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you've won a huge award with a costume, and then you take that exact same costume to another convention, now you're just being rude. Now you're taking prizes away from someone who is just competing for the first time and has put so much work into this costume. I mean, it's just a rude thing to do. Now, one thing I should say is that this is completely different from upgrading. Like if you have competed in a costume and you won an award with it, and that's great, but then you look at the costume, you're like, there's all these things that I'm not happy with and I want to change them and I want to make improvements. And you take that costume that's won an award and you upgrade it and you make it better and then you compete with it again. In my opinion, now that's a new costume.
Especially if it goes to a bigger convention.
Exactly.
Like I did the same thing at I won Best Masters at New York Comic Con. And then I competed at, I won Best Masters at Boston Comic Con. And then I upgraded my suit and made a lot of changes that I thought like I should have made to win Best Overall. And I did that, and then I competed at New York Comic Con, which you had to pre-register. It was a big event.
And I think that's also a difference when it comes to sandbagging, that, if you win at a very small convention, I don't think that there's any harm in taking that costume and then competing at a much larger convention.
And upgrading it.
If you're upgrading things and then competing at like New York, San Diego, C2E2, like those are big shows and those are, going to be challenging shows versus if you take it to another small convention, that's just not fair.
Especially I'm a proprietor of like small convention, upgrading it. You didn't win best in show, but you placed. You upgrade it, you make all the changes, you took the advice from the judges, you incorporate that in your costume, and you go to a big show. That's totally cool. But the other way around, you win. I mean, I've seen people that won at New York, and I keep seeing their same costume around and around. And I'm like, wow, that's a dick move. In robot culture, that's a dick move.
It is.
Okay, this one's actually directed towards Emily because I've heard a theory you have on this.
Oh, Game of Thrones theory is sweet.
I know which costume you're
R plus L equals J.
Can you really tell a bought costume from a made costume?
Yes. I can tell a bought costume from a made costume across the room. And the reason is I call it my fabric to seams ratio. If I look at a costume and I can tell that it's very well constructed out of a very cheap fabric, I know from 20 feet away that it's bought, not made. And the same really goes for, I would think, anything, not even just fabric, props. Like if it's well constructed, but you can tell it's made out of cheap plastic that's going to break easily, it's very easy to tell that it's bought.
Another thing, if at judging, if you come up with a bought costume and you say you made it, we can easily.
We know you're lying.
We know.
Yeah. I mean, I
Don't
ask
lie.
you 2 questions, and if you don't answer them correctly, I know you're instantly lying. And I'm not going to say you're lying to me. I'm just going to put it in the back of my head. All right, 0.
Yeah.
And I'll still talk to you. I'll still be nice and cordial. But when we deliberate afterwards, we're like 0.
You're disqualified.
Yeah.
If you bring a bought costume in, and you lie about having made it, or a commissioned costume, and we know that you're lying, then you get a 0. You're disqualified. You're not going to win any awards. And I think another big piece in terms of judging is we're going to ask you, how did you make it? What materials did you use? You know, if you've got serged hems in there and you say, oh, I sewed it, we're going to know that you're lying.
Or if you say, I made a plaster mold and I can clearly see that piece shouldn't have been used plaster, but if you did that and you can't tell me the actual clay you used to sculpt it, I can instantly tell that you're lying. And if you can't give me the products you used, what you did, I know you're lying, because it's not something you can be like, oh, I did it a year ago. I vividly remember I sculpted this helmet 2 years ago. I remember how much clay I used. I remember the brand of clay I used. I remembered everything. I remember roughly how much it cost. I mean, especially if it's something huge, and I'm like, oh, I sculpted everything. I'm like, okay, so what kind of clay did you use? Oh, just clay. Did you use a sulfur-based, or that's like $2,000 worth of clay right there. You should know how much or what type of clay you used, or especially with the seam lines. I mean, it's.
We know. We know.
But we shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. I mean, even if you bought something, if you just tell us you bought it, we're not going to, knock off massive amounts of points. I mean, if you're in a beginner's class and you bought, an armor piece, great. We're not going to judge that armor piece. We're going to judge the overall look of it, and that armor piece does play a part into it, but it's not going to make or break you.
Exactly. Like most contests, there's no requirement that you need to have made 100% of your costume. So if you went out and you bought a pair of shorts that looks exactly like the costume and you made everything else, we're not going to be like, well, why didn't you make the shorts? Like, obviously you found something that works, that's fine.
That's still a skill set. Trying to find what you need, that's a skill set.
Yeah, and even there are certain things that are just we don't expect you to make them.
Shoes.
We don't expect you to make your own shoes.
If you do, it's extra points,
Yes.
though.
Exactly, but we're not going to dock points for you having done it. Gloves are another big one. We hate making gloves. Gloves are the worst.
I don't mind making them.
You're weird.
Well, you're.
You are weird. So if you
a
bought
person.
your gloves, that's not points off. You might gain points if you made them yourself. But if you lie about having made them and we can clearly see that they're bought, that's going to lose you points. So just always be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. What is your biggest annoyance that you see during judging?
Lying.
Lying.
Okay, don't be a dick. Rule number 1 of cosplay, don't be a dick.
I think another big piece that I get annoyed by, or not necessarily annoyed, but frustrated, is when people come into judging and they have a nice costume, but they haven't taken the time to actually make themselves look good. Like, iron your costumes, put on makeup, make sure your makeup's not smudged, make sure your wig looks good.
Wear a wig cap, for God's sake. Wear a wig cap.
Yeah.
Wash your armor. Just a little bit of polish goes a long way.
Wash your costume.
Yes.
Please don't be stinky.
Yeah.
And Febreze does not count.
And please, God, be prepared. If you walk into judging and you're a hot mess and you have to put yourself together and figure out what you're doing before we can judge you, now you're wasting our time.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And pretty much everybody else's time. There's a lot more fun things you can do at a convention than come see us.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay. Up next is what craftsmanship skill impresses you most? Is there a specific type of thing you see?
Patience.
I think, I'm a big fan in my own costumes of doing a lot of hand detailing. So I do a lot of hand embroidery, hand beading, trying to learn how to paint it's not going so well. But I know the amount of time that it takes to do those kind of things and the amount of patience and precision. And for me, that's something that I really look for. And whenever anybody says that they've done that in their costume, I get like right up there and I'm looking at it and I'm admiring it because it takes a lot of time and dedication. And I think the other thing that I really admire is just fit. Like if something is tailored really well, that's gorgeous to look at.
And going the extra mile. I mean, you could go one route that's easy, but you could go the other route that's a lot more harder. It looks a little bit better, but not much. But if you go that harder route, I think that, I mean, I get impressed by that. I mean, my shield, I could have made that out of EVA foam. I didn't. I did that on an English wheel out of stainless steel. You never see that. And that's something that I know impresses a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. For me, I love when things are cleanly done. There are certain cosplayers that I follow online that if they post progress pictures of a seam that they sewed and that seam is so crisp, I get goosebumps, which is probably really nerdy. But and then the other big thing that impresses me, I know, I get really impressed by ingenuity. If you come into judging and you're like, oh yeah, I went to the hardware store and I found this shelf liner and I repurposed it into this, and I look at the costume, I'm like, I would never have guessed that that was a shelf liner because it just works so well. I love outside of the box thinking. If you can take something completely off the wall and make it work and make it look not at all like what it started as, that's impressive to me.
Yeah. I personally am always impressed with the finishing details. Like, so you made EVA foam armor, but did you finish the inside of the armor? Mm-hmm. Did you put headliner in there? Did you sand it down? Did you paint it? Are your zippers, did you base your zipper? Did you finish your zipper? Did you use an invisible zipper versus a metal zipper versus separating? Did you do those fine details? Because that always shows me that you thought about the whole thing all the way through, and you didn't just, I'm almost done, I'm going to stop caring. I am notorious for that.
Yeah, especially with the EVA foam. I mean, a lot of cosplayers use EVA foam because it's cheap, it's fairly easy to work with, but they don't finish it. You can clearly see hot glue seams, and they don't seal it properly. And I mean, the biggest problem with EVA foam for me is you put all this time and effort into it, and it only lasts 1 or 2 conventions, and then the paint's chipping off because you didn't do the sealing properly. So it's
okay. This was a fan favorite question sent in. What would you do with awards if the entries only ranged from awful to mediocre?
So
keep them. Run away and keep them.
I've been in this situation.
Me too.
And what I basically did was I went over all of the entries again, and I looked for pieces of the costume that I was impressed by, and I tried to find costumes that had, pieces that were nice, but overall it was kind of lackluster. And I gave the awards to people for those reasons. And when I was giving the award, I explained, this person had, pleated their skirt very nicely and the pleats were very crisp, and that's why they're winning this award.
Mm-hmm. Same thing. I also look for how cleanly it was done. You might not have made a very impressive costume, but was it finished well? Like, did it look good from the outside? Okay, I'm going to give you more points than someone who comes in and they're all rumpled and clearly haven't ironed their costume and their tights are on backwards. Obviously you're going to get more points if you clearly just put some forethought into it and and at least tried to do it correctly, even if the costume itself is fairly lackluster.
Yeah.
If you made me laugh, I'll give you extra points.
Coming in with a good attitude, always good. Yes, always good. Make us laugh. We'll let you get away with anything.
Yeah.
What do you think of social media popular cosplayers being judges?
For me, it depends entirely on why they're famous. If you are famous online because you have big boobs and you wore costumes that people have made for you,
phenomenal. I'm totally cool with that.
If you're judging a performance award, I have no problem with that. But if you don't make your own costumes and you're judging craftsmanship, that's a problem because you don't know what to look for. You don't know what questions to ask. If someone's very popular online because of the quality of their costumes, that's a completely different story. It's all about what your skill set is. If you're being asked to use a skill set that you don't possess,
Same thing with celebrity judges as well.
Yeah. And I think
We run into that a lot. We'll have a celebrity judge, and it's like they're just like, that was shiny. I'm like, no.
I think shows if you've got the desire to have a really popular cosplayer or celebrity be part of the judging and they don't have that skill set, my recommendation is always, give them their own, so-and-so's choice award. And they get to pick a costume that they really enjoyed to give that award to, and they don't weigh in on the rest of the stuff.
Or they can do the performance end of it while we deliberate.
Yeah.
And that worked out last time, right?
Okay, thank you guys so much for being here. Final thoughts. No matter what we say here, please don't ever be scared to enter a costume contest. We all started as little baby nerds in little baby nerd costumes.
Yep.
So we know where you've been. And I know all of us here, we've met some of our best friends competing in cosplay. And I'll leave you with something my mom taught me when I started competing in cosplay, because she herself as a cosplayer is take your craftsmanship seriously, but not the competition. And I'll see you guys next time when we talk to men who cosplay. Thank you for coming out.